This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I have the best words. Tolerate. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. I had the best words. God bless the United States.
Please clap.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. It is Christmas Eve. Fun. So awesome. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to the show. We have got quite a show here. I was banging on last night about Trump making Pelosi look like a fool. It's not necessarily Pelosi looking like a fool. It's basically outflanking the Democratic Party in their position, their stated position, which was $1,200. We're just diving right into it, apparently. $1,200, which again was the Democratic position. Trump comes out and says, well, $2,000 is my position. What are you going to do? I know what you can do. Nancy Pelosi can say, sure, let's do $2,000, but let's make it monthly. Hey, good times. All right, so anyway, we got a good show for you guys. Again, diving right into it, man. So let's see. Trump was acting like he's doing a favor when he should have done this months ago. The favor, again, Trump has been calling for this for a while. Saying it should be significantly more. This is even before the election, which is why I was like, it's an election stunt. And let's be honest, it probably is still a stunt. But you know what? If it leads to something positive, I'll fucking take it. And I'm sure the millions of Americans that are struggling will also take it. But let's be fair, too. Nancy Pelosi has been pushing $1,200 since May. And so she and the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, of course, has been pushing $2,000 a month. The squad has been pushing $2,000 a month. So understand where that, who's actually better on this issue than Trump has been. But anyway, we are just, again, we're just diving right into it. I don't know why. My eyes are all tired. Sorry about that. Okay, anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the stimulus deal, what Donald Trump has been doing, an explanation of where everybody's at, making some sense of all of this mess. We're also going to go in and talk about Joe Biden's involvement in the COVID relief deal. We have war criminals getting pardoned. We're going to talk about that too. So that's something else that Trump's been doing. And then we've got Mike Pence. Mike Pence accurately nails the progressive position. We're going to talk about that. That's fun. Nowhere near the $5,000 that it should be, but if it's monthly, then it's a win. Hey, we take our wins where we can. We are far from what we need, but we'll take a win where we can get it. That's for sure. All right. So that said, Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very helpful if you do so. Hey, let's in the merch that we have here. And let's do it. Oh, by the way, Boucher 99, I want to thank you for the gift sub. That's awesome that you're giving out subs. Love it. Love it. I got a great Twitch community. I've got an amazing YouTube community as well. We are growing on both platforms here, and I absolutely love it. All right. I love you all. To my wonderful, wonderful audience everywhere. Okay. That said, let's get into the stuff. The things. This is a very stimulating fight. Can't believe I did that. I'm in a mood today. You know that I'm getting a washing machine. And so like our washing machine crapped out. And we're getting a replacement today. So like literally right now. And so I'm like, I want to go down there and I want to see how it's going and be like, oh, like, you know how it is. Okay. It's like, oh, is everything okay? You got to bring it through this door. I want to watch it being installed, but I can't. So it's one of those things where like, you know, you're fucking old when you get excited about getting a new washer. I don't know why I had to mention that, but it's one of the important things going on in my life right now. Okay, it's important stuff. Anyway, you guys love me. Let's do it. All right. Yesterday, everything seemed set for the bipartisan $900 billion stimulus bill to make it into law. Now, of course, it was bundled inside of a, I believe, $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill filled with a lot of stuff. So that was, you know, that cleared the House. It cleared the, I believe it cleared the Senate as well. And is ready, man, is ready to go to the White House. All good to go, except for one little detail, and that happens to be the President of the United States. Trump recently came out of the bunker. He emerged from the fog of whatever he's been dealing with for like the past, you know, a few weeks. It's since the election, basically, where he, you know, had zero input on the negotiations of this bill. And that's, of course, sort of frustrating. But he comes out and he says, I'm going to veto this thing unless Americans get a bigger stimulus payment than $600. In fact, I'm going to show you some of that video. Take a look.
Then, a few months ago, Congress started negotiations on a new package to get urgently needed help to the American people. It's taken forever. However, the bill they are now planning to send back to my desk is much different than anticipated. It really is a disgrace. For example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. The $900 billion package provides hardworking taxpayers with only $600 each in relief payments, and not enough money is given to small businesses, and in particular restaurants, whose owners have suffered so grievously. Congress found plenty of money for foreign countries, lobbyists, and special interests, while sending the bare minimum to the American people who need it. It wasn't their fault. It was China's fault, not their fault. I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple. I'm also asking Congress to immediately get rid of the wasteful and unnecessary items from this legislation and to send me a suitable bill, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me, and we will get it done.
No, it won't. It won't be you. I love how he's got a shoehorn at the end. Maybe the next administration will be me. You don't know, but we'll get it done. Well, it won't be you. Look, that's pretty self-explanatory where he's coming from on that, right? He's hoping that by doing this, the next administration will be him. Which again, there's no possible way of doing any of that. But anyway, all right, substantively, right? Okay, $2,000 per person. Now, Donald Trump doesn't know how government works, and there's a lot of people apparently who also don't know how government works. They're saying that in the $900 billion stimulus proposal, there was, aid to Israel, and there's missiles, all these aid to different countries, Pakistan for, gender studies and education, which by the way, I agree with. All that stuff is in the COVID bill. Technically, that's in the omnibus spending bill, the $1.4 trillion. But the way that they do it in Congress is they kind of package all these things together and have to agree on everything together and then put it into one giant spending bill. So yes, it is the same, but it's not actually part of the coronavirus stimulus. I know it's confusing, but it's confusing on purpose. Okay, but look, understand that Donald Trump has been talking about this since the election, okay? But at the same time, as I mentioned before, Donald Trump has not been part of the negotiations here. Why? It's because he's been too busy trying to undermine the election. So it's a bit of a shock to have him come out and threaten a veto, which, by the way, breaking news, Donald Trump did just veto the NDAA. But it did pass through a veto-proof majority, so nonetheless, not happy with the NDAA because they refused to add in, or I should say phase out Section 230. That is, of course, the streaming proposals that would protect, I believe it would protect, okay, that's a different bill than the Tom Tellis streaming thing. It would actually get rid of immunity for, people who put like mean comments in the section. So it's a good thing that they didn't get rid of Section 230 because, again, that liability protection is one that I actually support because it allows free discourse on the internet. Okay, so it's like the most anti-free speech thing that you could ever imagine. But anyway, now getting back to the stimulus, right? Now, so the stimulus payments only gave you about $600. It's woefully inadequate as a stimulus. It barely even counts as a survival check. And so a lot of voters, understandably, on both the left and the right, were really angry about this. Okay. Very, very angry about this. So now, it doesn't take a genius, a brain genius, a galaxy brain to want to push for more money for the American people, okay? I think anybody who can read a poll, anybody who's got two brain cells to rub together, okay, it knows that giving people more money in the middle of a pandemic that has left Americans devastated financially is going to be an incredibly popular proposal. Okay, Donald Trump may be dumb, but at least he can read the room. Now, there are people out there, of course, that cannot read the room, and that's Republicans. So now the reasons, of course, that Donald Trump backs this are fairly simple. For one, I think he wants people on his side. Okay, he has probably watched Fox News segments where, voters were mad, okay, and of course they blamed Nancy Pelosi for the pathetic $600 payments. I don't think it's Pelosi's fault. It's Mitch McConnell's fault that the payments are so low. Mitch McConnell will not allow anything to get through the Senate. The Senate is a graveyard of legislation. Nancy Pelosi has been pushing for $1,200 checks, not $2,000, but $1,200 checks, which is significantly more than $600 checks. She has been pushing that since May, and she has been not voting for pieces of legislation that, yes, would give the $1,200 stimulus, but also added in the poison proposal that would give corporate immunity when it comes to COVID-19 lawsuits. And so she's not going to take that, and she gets credit for that. I know we love to hate on Pelosi here because she's not a progressive and she's not great and she's a terrible negotiator and she's, whatever, right? But on this, she said, no, we're not going to do corporate liability for people, for companies that don't protect their employees. And so I agree with that 100% on that. All right. So now getting back to Mitch McConnell, the Grim Reaper, the guy who was literally decaying in front of us. Okay. This guy doesn't give two shits about struggling Americans. All right. His stimulus proposals were just straight up corporate stimulus liability protection, I think, a month of additional unemployment benefits, as well as no stimulus checks. So understand that functionally, from the standpoint of, actually being able to get things passed through Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi didn't have any room to maneuver, unfortunately, right? And so, again, up to her, we would have passed the HEROES Act, which would have been significantly better than this shitty bipartisan proposal. Not great, but better than the shitty bipartisan proposal that we would have ended up with had Donald Trump not came out and threatened a veto. So now, as I said, Democrats wanted $1,200 per person for, it's mean tested all to hell. And that's, of course, one reason why I say Pelosi does suck is because she's not taking the Bernie Sanders proposal and doing $2,000. The Bernie Sanders Ro Khanna plan, endorsed by the squad, all those progressives, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, are pushing $2,000 a month recurring UBI until the end of the pandemic. And so that's where progressives at. The establishment, basically what we got is the establishment proposal, which was more aligned towards Mitch McConnell and much lower stimulus. That said, okay, it also involved things like, and by the way, this is, again, the HEROES Act here. You had state and local aid. You had the $600 unemployment payments. You had no corporate liability. And of course, that went to McConnell. And McConnell said, no, I'm gonna kill it. It's a graveyard. This is my graveyard. I'm the Lich King, and I say no. I'm gonna kill it. And understand that Mitch McConnell is the root of most of our problems here, of most of this dysfunction, the fact that he doesn't let anything get through his Senate. So there's that said, right? I do want to, go after Democrats a little bit for not playing good politics. Not good. Now, the other reason, of course, Donald Trump is doing this is to spite McConnell. Let's be honest, okay? Remember, I reported yesterday that Donald Trump has turned on Mitch McConnell as well as is turning on his own Vice President, Mike Pence. Why? Because they had the audacity to recognize Joe Biden's win. Okay? See, Donald Trump has zero loyalty to the Republican Party. He is not a party player. He's not interested in this. We know this because Donald Trump is all loyal to himself. All right? He's loyal to himself. He's loyal to his own wealth and power. He is the ultimate expression of Republican ideology. Greed is good. Fuck you. I got mine. If you're not useful to me, we throw you away. I throw you aside, and for good measure, I'm going to embarrass you. Because, again, I don't have any loyalty to the party apparatus. This is why Trump is both a wild card, but also no ally. All right? No ally. So I agree with giving people $2,000. Okay? But understand that the motivations at play, it's all politics. Now, understand, too, that this could either lead to this possibly happening, which would be great. I would love that. Or it could blow up in the face of the American people. Right now, the American people are unfortunately, again, are pawns in Donald Trump's game of chicken. Not good. But in this case, it's not between Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi. They're on the same side on this issue. Okay? It's actually Trump versus McConnell. And so it creates some very strange bedfellows. Now, I just mentioned Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump on the same side. What are you talking about? Well, we're going to start with Nancy Pelosi. In fact, here's what she said. She tweeted this after Donald Trump came out and put out this video last night. Democrats are ready to bring this to the floor this week by unanimous consent. Republicans repeatedly refused to say what the amount the president wanted for direct checks. Well, but he's been saying it for a while. At last, the president has agreed to $2,000. Let's do it. Now, there's, of course, a reason that Pelosi kind of ignores the fact that Donald Trump has been vocal about $2,000. He just hasn't put out a veto threat, but he had been talking about this for a while. So Pelosi's being a bit disingenuous there. And there's a reason for that, and that's because, of course, Joe Biden was involved. We'll get to that in another segment. But nonetheless, one aide did tell CNN the Democrats are planning a unanimous consent vote for Thursday on these standalone checks. Okay, now there is a problem with unanimous consent. It takes one Republican vote to wreck it. Now, are the Republicans going to be against this? Obviously. Now, that said, there are some Republicans, as I'm going to point out, that are now on the side of Trump because they don't want to, counteract Trump publicly, because then Trump will target them through Twitter, or they're afraid that Trump will target them through Twitter. But nonetheless, there's a problem here, okay? As David Sirota, Andrew Perez, and Walker Bragman write in an article for the Daily Poster, Pelosi's statement of support includes a bit of a hedge. Shocker. She says she wants to bring it up by unanimous consent, a process that gives any single member of the House the ability to raise an objection and block it. That could let her pretend she tried to force a vote, but then was thwarted by a Republican dissenter. And so, what are you going to do? I brought this up by unanimous consent, and the Republicans blocked it. Now, it's a good political play, but it's not a good play for the American people. And so then we're going back to being stuck with no stimulus, because Donald Trump is more than willing to blow it up, or somehow the Republicans reining in Donald Trump to pass this through, which would then lead back to, of course, to $600 checks, which is we're at the same problem, right? So now they also know that there is something that Pelosi could actually do to try to get her to force a vote. As the American Prospect's David Dayen notes, Pelosi could, for instance, do it under a separate process of suspending the rules, which mean that to stop it, 140 would have to publicly go against Donald Trump and deny Trump's $2,000 lump sum cash payment to the American people, which would be devastating for the Republican Party. I don't understand why Nancy Pelosi is not playing hardball with this. She should. It's politically smart. Why would you go and do a unanimous consent vote that can be wrecked very easily when you have powers as Speaker of the House to do it in a way that could guarantee you not only get Republicans on the record of opposing this against Trump, but also to show that, hey, look, Trump, I'm on your side. I also agree with $2,000 a month, and these are the guys who are not, so maybe you should call them out. Again, that would be strong leadership. What we've seen Pelosi, not exactly strong leadership on this. Even though I do believe that she does favor, stimulus. Obviously, she's been pushing for $1,200, but she'll accept $600 because she thinks it's a significant amount, but it really should be $2,000. And maybe she's more concerned about denying Trump a political win. I don't know. I can't really go and look into Pelosi's mind. I just really wish that she would not try this unanimous consent. Maybe she thinks the Republican Party is, I don't know, reasonable. I can say that most likely they're not reasonable, but she is calling their bluff, and that is interesting. Now, speaking of Democrats, you had Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeting out an amendment that would replace the $600 payments currently in the related legislation, the one-time $2,000 payment to most Americans. And here's what AOC said on Twitter. Glad to see the president is willing to support our legislation. We can pass $2,000 checks this week if the Senate GOP agrees to stand down. Representative Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, and other Congressional Progressive Caucus members also backed the amendment publicly. Ayanna Pressley said, people's lives are at stake. Survival checks now. Over in the Senate, where, again, the graveyard, Mitch McConnell's personal graveyard. Here's what Chuck Schumer said. You have Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer tweeting out, let's not get bogged down with ideological offsets and unrelated items, presenting a clean bill. Let's just do this. The American people deserve it. I'm in. What do you say, Mitch? So Schumer, strong, okay, on this one. Every once in a while, Chuck Schumer can surprise us. All right. Then, of course, there's Senator Bernie Sanders, who had the original idea for $2,000, but it was $2,000 a month in the form of a UBI. Now, that is vastly superior than Trump's proposal. And so, look, it's easy for Donald Trump to go to the left of the establishment Democrats, but when it comes to progressives, when it comes to, social Democrats like Bernie Sanders and AOC, you can't get to the left of them. They're to the left of you, at least when it comes to members of Congress, when it comes to Donald Trump. All right, so there's that. Now, by the way, Bernie's proposal, Bernie wasn't working alone on this. Bernie was working with Kamala Harris as well as Ed Markey. Where's Kamala Harris, by the way? I'm kind of curious why she is not also out there saying, hey, yes, $2,000 a month, let's do this. Maybe I haven't seen it. I don't know. That's it. Okay. Actually, this is what Bernie Sanders had tweeted out. Now, Mr. President, get Mitch McConnell and your Republican friends to stop opposing it. We can provide the working class Americans with $2,000. Let's do it. Now, if Democrats were serious about this, and that remains to be seen, right? They're talking the talk, and I love it, but they also need to walk the walk. Okay, Schumer could start demanding unanimous consent, which is different in the Senate, by the way, to pass the $2,000 check legislation every day the body's in session. Again, the added benefit of doing this in the Senate would have put the heat on Georgia incumbent Republicans Senator Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, who so far do not support the $2,000 checks. Warnock and Ossoff, however, have signaled their support to this. Ossoff tweeted this, $2,000 checks now. So, I mean, again, Loeffler, not in favor. So Georgia, still very much in play politically, okay, because of that runoff election. That really shows, it really comes down to control of the Senate with these two different races in Georgia. But not only do you have Democrats, of course, calling Trump's bluff or going along with it, you've got people like Lindsey Graham. But wait, there's a little bit of a caveat in this one. Here's Lindsey Graham. He says this: appreciate the fact that Speaker Pelosi supports President Trump's idea to increase direct payments to $2,000 a person. Okay, that sounds great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The American people are hurting and deserve relief. I know there is much bipartisan support for this idea. Let's go further. Hey, all right, Lindsey Graham. So Lindsey Graham suddenly now is so. All right, you know what? I'm not going to use that term anymore. But basically, Lindsey Graham is so much of a Trump sycophant that he's like, oh, now I'm in favor of giving Americans $2,000 a month because Daddy Trump said so. Okay. All right, great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But then Lindsey Graham did also try to add a pro-Trump item, which is Trump's Section 230 repeal, which again would be a disaster for the internet because it would hold companies liable for people's comments on their comment sections. You wouldn't have a comment section anymore. It would be gone because these companies wouldn't want to be held liable for that kind of thing. And it all stems, of course, from Donald Trump saying, "I don't like it when people make fun of me on the internet." Well, dude, what else is the internet for? I mean, it's kind of what the internet, it's kind of what Twitter is for. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. But still, you see the game. You see what Lindsey Graham's doing. He's so transparent. He loves licking the boots of Donald Trump. He's like, oh, lick them boots. Those boots are so shiny now, Mr. Trump. Oh, yes. Oh, I've made them very, very shiny. You can even see your face in it. Ugh. But still, look. So overall, though, you can see that Donald Trump doing this just upended the whole fucking thing. And it is kind of glorious in that respect, but also has the potential of hurting a lot of Americans by delaying aid in order to play politics. And so this could either turn out to be really awesome and really great, and $2,000, it's going to help a lot of people. Again, it's far from being enough, but my God, that's going to help a lot of people. $2,000, much more than $600 would, or $1,200. But at the same time, it really depends on how the Democrats play this and what Trump does. And again, we don't know what Trump's going to do, what kind of like bullshit he's got planned, what kind of wild card he's going to be on this. And so, you know, I'm a cynic. So, you know, I'm gonna kind of default to the Democrats somehow being able to fuck this up, to pluck defeat from the jaws of victory because they're so bad at politics. But I don't know. You know, I think generally when you're considering the Democrats, you keep your expectations low. And if you do, you might be surprised if they actually deliver something maybe better than $600. We can only hope. Whew. All right. Got to do a falsetto when you address Miss Lindsey Graham. Hey, I'm pro-trans here. You know, if Lindsey Graham wants to come out and be herself, she should do so. You should do so. All right, anyway. Moving on. Let's go to what could mess up the deal. What could mess up this whole thing? With President Donald Trump pushing a surprise $2,000 payment in the COVID-19 relief bill, it has come out that President-elect Joe Biden actually was for smaller payments and had actually intervened in the process of negotiation to make sure Americans got smaller stimulus payments. Now, this is according to the Daily Poster's David Sirota. So now, Biden had refrained from aggressively pushing the bipartisan initiative for $1,200 survival checks. So now, that's very important because at the end of the day, we ended up getting the Manchin proposal passed through both the House and the Senate. And understand, of course, Mitch McConnell is a gigantic obstacle. But at the same time, Biden was saying, no, that's too much. No, too much. Okay. In fact, here's what Sirota wrote. Indeed, at a time when there's legitimate chance to flip some Republicans, including Donald Trump, against McConnell and push for a more robust stimulus, he demurred. Now, understand that Donald Trump, of course, as I've explained in other videos, he's not doing this for altruistic reasons. I don't think he gives a flying fuck about the American people and how much you're suffering. But to those who are suffering right now, who can't afford their rent, who are going to food banks and are depending on the survival money, I don't think they really care about the reasons Donald Trump, about the political Machiavellian, sort of motivations of our politicians. And so, nonetheless, it is kind of important to know that he is doing this just to go after McConnell, because McConnell, it's over this petty bickering, essentially, right? Now, the reason that matters is because this could also lead this could lead Trump to back off the $2,000 request, as again, Donald Trump doesn't really believe in any sort of ideology, okay? And so he is a wild card in this. So that's Trump's position. And in a way, by doing this position, he kind of caught Democrats with their pants down by pushing the centrist $600 thing that has been widely panned by both Democrats and Republicans. And so, it puts Biden also in a really bad position politically because he has been behind the scenes on the side of austerity. As Sirota writes, and this was published in the New York Times, the Times remind us today that Biden was, quote, not an idle bystander in the negotiations. On the contrary, the paper of record tells us the president-elect played a decisive role in making sure the legislation was cut in half. Now, the whole HEROES Act, by the way, that was $1.8 trillion. Now, the problem with that HEROES Act, of course, is that it involved corporate liability protection, which, again, that's not a good thing, especially during COVID. That's why that didn't pass the House. That's why Nancy Pelosi didn't push that, to be fair. But we're also talking about stimulus payments, right? $1,200, I think, was too much. In fact, here's a key excerpt. With the Republican and Democratic leaders in the House and the Senate far apart, Mr. Biden on December 2nd threw his support behind the $900 billion plan being pushed by the centrist group, which again only involved $600 a person payments and $300 weekly unemployment benefit. Now, that total is less than half the just a slap in the face of millions of people in poverty, right? But Biden basically did this to make Democratic Congress people more comfortable in accepting this slap in the face. So Biden got involved with this personally. Now, Sirota also points out another problematic line in the New York Times story. In November, the American people spoke clearly that now is the time for action and compromise. I'm heartened to see members of Congress heed that message, reach across the aisle, and work together. This is a model for the challenging work ahead for our nation. So basically, what you're saying right now is that, what we have going on in the Senate that basically cut this in half is a very, very inadequate stimulus that was would be blocked by Mitch McConnell if it were any more towards the American people, heavily weighted towards corporations. Gave the 3 martini tax deduction for corporate meals, all this stuff that helps companies, corporations over the American people. That is the model that we need to work on, just because it's bipartisan. Wow. No. And again, here's the thing. The American people right now are not looking for compromise. They are looking for money, right? They are desperate. And there is widespread support for these $1,200 checks, okay? And yet Joe Biden let Democrats get away with compromising with Mitch McConnell, who, by the way, wanted $0 in the stimulus checks. Now, I understand that functionally, Democrats in Congress couldn't really do anything. They were blocked. This was the only avenue that they could do by Mitch McConnell. But at the same time, Democrats should have used that politically to ravage McConnell and tie the lack of aid to control of the Senate and really make their case in saying, hey, we can give you $2,000 a month, or we can at least give you $1,200 if you give us control of the Senate. That's why it's really important that you get involved and vote in that Georgia race and give us control. We will help you. Mitch McConnell will not. And I don't think they've been making that strong of a case. Okay? They just haven't. And so what we have now is Donald Trump flanking Joe Biden from the left, as well as Pelosi, and as well as Schumer, as well as the establishment Democrats. Of course, Bernie Sanders was on the right side. Bernie Sanders getting together with Kamala Harris and Ed Markey to push $2,000 a month. You also have the members of the House Democrats, the Squad, Congressional Progressive Caucus, all on the side of $2,000 a month on a recurring UBI. And so that's the problem with Biden, being too conservative, being too basically conciliatory towards the Republicans, who are right now off the rails. This isn't 1992. Okay, you're not going to reach out to Republicans and get something that is pretty good for the American people, a good deal for the American people. This is not what's happening. Again, Mitch McConnell is a bad faith actor. You're not going to do much deals with him. What you have to do is you have to do Machiavellian power plays to beat him. You've got to learn how to wield power effectively in your position and outplay McConnell. That is the only way that you're going to be able to get things done. And it's possible that Donald Trump might have just inadvertently done that. Yeah. So now Sirota writes this as well. He continues by saying that the last line of Biden's statement is arguably the most disturbing foreshadow of all. He is depicting this process, which starved America for months and now skims on benefit model for the future military spending package that was tacked on, which also included billions for Trump's Space Force, as well as new weapon systems, as well as, of course, foreign aid for Israel, to buy them missile defense systems and things like that. I think that they can happen to afford their own missile defense systems. They're a functioning democracy. They're doing very, very well for themselves. Why do they have to subsist on our money now? And understand, like, in developing countries, there are cases to be made by doing like spending that helps democracy and, that's pro-democracy, pro-gender studies and things like that, like in Pakistan, and I support those kinds of programs. But like Israel, there's no reason that Israel needs our money. They're doing very, very well for themselves. So it is very strange that this is happening. But that said, instead, Sirota writes, austerity was targeted at the part of the omnibus legislation that was supposed to help people whose were destroyed by $100 checks, while agreeing with in substance. Again, I mean, this is what we do. We do bipartisanship here. Now, Trump, as I said before, outflanked him and embarrassed him. And again, it's not just on this bill, as Sirota points out. It kind of really shows you how the Biden years are going to go. Biden's pernicious role, Sirota writes in this episode, previews what we can expect when he takes office. After all, if you draw a Venn diagram of Biden's priorities and McConnell's priorities, the overlap is budget-cutting zealotry, and Biden is building an administration full of precisely those kinds of zealots. And now we see, of course, what that means in practice. It means $600 survival checks instead of $1,200, instead of $2,000, all that stuff. Money going to the Pentagon, giving rich people a big new tax break, doubling funding for Congress's own private healthcare system, which is, again, publicly funded and administered and controlled, as well as, inadequate unemployment benefits, $6 billion in tax breaks for deducting corporate meals, and $3 billion to a tax break for landlords. It's just not good. It's not good. So if progressive advocacy groups, activists, and lawmakers don't call this out and confront the austerity policies head on, it's going to be a very painful 4 years, Sirota writes. They've been warned about Biden's ideology for a long time. The stimulus bill is the biggest warning of all. Look, I don't find anything that Sirota is pointing out to be controversial at all. But let's get one thing clear, because I know I'm going to get these comments, right? Are you saying that Donald Trump would have been better? No, not at all. No, again, Donald Trump just did a bunch of heinous pardons to war criminals and stuff. Okay, that's not good. And by the way, Joe Biden was on the right side of that issue, as I'm going to get into another story. But here's the thing. What Biden is doing is that he is doing this, the thing that frustrates me, right, is he's doing this very pro-corporate bullshit. Pro-corporate, Republican, like, I think we can go and do this bipartisanship that really doesn't help the American people at a time when the American people really need help. So that's the problem. We've got piss poor political instincts from the Democratic Party who end up giving up the fight before they even start, and as a result of Biden's interference. Okay. All right. Apparently, I'm having YouTube issues. So, everybody, make sure to refresh the stream if you haven't already. And I'm going to do some restarts here. I think I need to do some restarts here. All right. So, we'll be back in a minute around the nation.